So welcome, and it's really good to have you on. We have people from all over the world. We have people from NGOs and businesses, from government departments, and tonight we are incredibly excited because this is the fourth webinar in a 5-part series that we're doing on child labour for the International Year of the Elimination of Child Labour. My name is Fuzz Kitto, and with Carolyn Kitto, who will come on later, we are the co-directors of Be Slavery Free, and we are partnering, as we always love partnering, with Adi Kapoor, the founder and managing director of Embode, to bring you this webinar on tonight, the voices of children on child labour. And if we're talking about child labour, then it's so important that we give the opportunity for young people to share their impressions, their ideas from where they are. We have tonight 4 speakers, and this is going to be great. As we start off, as we do with Be Slavery Free, because we're Australian, we'd like to recognise that we are on Aboriginal lands of the Durag people, and we give respect to the elders and leaders past, present and emerging. And in their language, I would greet you by saying Warami, Yamandu Mundi, which means greetings, I hope you are well. Tonight we're so excited and privileged, as I said, to have these speakers. We've got Mundi from Cambodia, we've got Bagavi from India, we have Ruby from Australia, and we have Benjamin from Ghana. The supporting organisations for these people and who are partnering with us tonight are CSR Cambodia, MVF Foundation in India, and some of you would have seen the people from MVF on the second webinar that we've done in this series, if you were watching that, and thirdly by World Vision Ghana for Benjamin as well. So why are we doing these webinars? Well, it is to help us understand that it is just so important that we be aware of the amount of child labour there is in the world. In the first of this series, I'd explained that there are 160 million children in child labour around the world, and it is chronic that we think in 2021 that we could have that situation that exists. The ILO calls on governments to consider what is hazardous child labour and the work that is prohibited for children. And it's in the areas of exposing children to physical, psychological or sexual abuse, work underground, underwater or dangerous heights, or in confined spaces, working with dangerous equipment and machinery, and working in an unhealthy environment which may, for example, expose children to hazardous substance abuses, agents or processes, to temperatures, noise levels, and things which are going to affect their health. So what we are wanting to do is to say that, let you know, if you don't know already, you may know that children are generally they're in agriculture, in services, and then in industry factories, working in those situations as well. Around the world, children 5 to 14, and here's the 10 biggest ones. This will be available afterwards, and we're recording this session so you can go back and look at these in a bit more detail should you want to do that. Play them to your staff, to your neighbours, to your friends, to others in your association or organisation. That might be very, very helpful there. So let's pass over to Arti now, and Arti, give us an introduction here to child labour and what we're going to be doing tonight.
Thank you, Fuzz. It is an absolute pleasure and privilege to be here today, especially in this particular webinar. And I'm really excited, probably one of the most exciting webinars for me, because we are welcoming young people to our panel. And one of the things that I've been, talking about for quite a few years, and, one of the reasons why we're collaborating with Be Slavery Free is because we believe that, one of the fundamental areas of children's rights is in the participation of children in decisions and actions that impact them. And we've done some work before, for example, with NGO CRC in Cambodia, who do fantastic work in child participation. And we believe that in the area of children's rights and business, especially when we're working on child labor, that we really need to speak and listen to young people a lot more. And that's why I think, this is so exciting, because this is so rare. So yeah, that's it really. And a pleasure to welcome everybody. Thank you very much.
So thanks for that, Artie. And we are going to have a chance now to have a look at the first one that we have coming up here, which is Mundi. So Mundi is first up. Mundi is 17 years old and she is completing year 12. She has 4 siblings and is currently living with a friend because she does not have access to internet in her family home. Internet is necessary to continue her education. She is indigenous to the Ratanakari province of Cambodia, and she's excited to meet you all. And in Cambodia, we see, as you see on the screen there, there's a whole lot of child labor. And in the rapid growth in construction for bricks and these things have fueled child labor. So let's have a listen to Mundi.
ពលកម្មកុមារមានរហូតដល់ 160 លាននាក់នៅទូទាំងពិភពលោកអារម្មណ៍របស់អ្នកខ្ញុំនៅពេលនោះគឺមានអារម្មណ៍ថាភ្ញាក់ផ្អើលខ្លាំងមែនទែនព្រោះមិននឹកស្មានថាពលកម្មកុមារមានចំនួនតួលេខច្រើនដល់រហូតដល់ថ្នាក់ហ្នឹងទេអ្នកខ្ញុំគិតថាមានតែក្នុងសហគមន៍ក៏ដូចជានៅតាមភូមិតាមស្រុករបស់អ្នកខ្ញុំទេដែលមានពលកម្មកុមារមិននឹកស្មានថាទូទាំងពិភពលោកក៏មានពលកម្មកុមាររហូតដល់ចំនួនដែលយើងពិបាកនឹងទទួលយកហើយបញ្ហាទាំងអស់នេះគឺមិនទាន់មានដំណោះស្រាយសមស្របសម្រាប់ដោះស្រាយនៅឡើយគួរតែមានការចូលរួមទៅជាមួយនឹងអ្នកពាក់ព័ន្ធក៏ដូចជាអាជ្ញាធរពុំដែរឲ្យគាត់រួមចំណែកគ្នាដើម្បីដោះស្រាយនៅបញ្ហាពលកម្មកុមារកុំឲ្យនៅតែមានបន្តមានរហូតដល់ចំនួនការលើសពីចំនួននេះទៀតចំនួនទាំងអស់នេះគឺវាច្រើនលឺលប់ទៅហើយមកដល់ហើយដែលពួកយើងទៅធ្វើការទាំងអស់នោះមានកត្តា4សំខាន់ដូចជាទី1ភាពក្រីក្រដោយសារតែគ្រួសារយើងមានភាពលំបាកខ្លាំងសម្បីតែការហូបចុកក៏ដូចជាការរស់នៅរបស់យើងមានភាពលំបាកយើងមិនអាចបន្តការសិក្សាហើយធ្វើឲ្យយើងសម្រេចចិត្តទៅជួយឪពុកម្ដាយយើងធ្វើការដើម្បីរកចំណូលដើម្បីគ្រប់គ្រងនៅជីវភាពគ្រួសាររបស់យើងហើយឪពុកម្ដាយក៏គាត់មានការលំបាកខ្លាំងហើយគាត់មិនអាចចិញ្ចឹមបីបាច់ថែរក្សាកូនបានល្អគាត់ក៏បាននាំកូនរបស់គាត់ទៅធ្វើការជាមួយគាត់ដើម្បីរកចំណូលហើយចំណុចទី2នោះគឺទីផ្សារការងារមិនទាន់ល្អសមស្របដោយសារតែការងារអត់មានភាពច្បាស់លាស់ចេះតែរើសទាំងក្មេងទាំងចាស់ដែលក្មេងខ្លះមិនទាន់គ្រប់ទាំងអាយុផងក៏អនុញ្ញាតឲ្យចូលធ្វើការដែរអញ្ចឹងជាកត្តាដែលធ្វើឲ្យកុមារគាត់ចូលចិត្តពេលដែលបានលុយអញ្ចឹងទៅគាត់ចង់ទៅធ្វើការទាំងអស់នោះដែរដើម្បីមានលុយខ្លួនឯងហើយនឹងមានលុយដើម្បីហូបចុកឬទៅសម្លៀកបំពាក់ដល់ខ្លួនឯងចំណុចទី3នេះគឺខ្វះខាតសេវាអប់រំនៅតំបន់មួយចំនួនដូចជាកុមារដែលស្ថិតនៅតំបន់ដាច់ស្រយាលហើយដែលគាត់ខ្វះខាតមានជីវភាពខ្វះខាតគឺគាត់មិនអាចបន្តការសិក្សាទៅសាលារៀនហើយពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់មិនអាចគ្រប់គ្រងការសិក្សារបស់គាត់ផងដែរហើយទាំងអស់នេះក៏ជាកត្តាដែលជំរុញឲ្យពួកគាត់ទៅធ្វើការហើយដែលស្ថិតនៅក្នុងចំណោមពលកម្មកុមារហើយពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់ដោយសារតែអត់អាចជួយកូនរបស់គាត់ទៅបន្តការសិក្សាអញ្ចឹងគាត់បានអូសទាញកូនរបស់គាត់ទៅធ្វើការជាមួយគាត់ដើម្បីរកប្រាក់ចំណូលគិតថាពេលដែលកូនគាត់ធ្វើការវាពិសេសជាងការទៅសាលារៀនហើយការទៅសាលារៀនបានគឺគាត់ទៅចំណាយប្រាក់ទិញសម្លៀកបំពាក់ទិញសម្ភារៈហើយកូនរបស់គាត់អត់មានពេលជួយការងារគាត់ទៀតអញ្ចឹងជាមូលហេតុដែលគាត់ចង់ឲ្យកូនគាត់ទៅធ្វើការជាមួយគាត់ហើយចំណុចចុងក្រោយនេះគឺការផ្លាស់ទីលំនៅរបស់ពុកម្ដាយពេលដែលប្រជាជនដែលរស់នៅទៅតាមជនបទគាត់ផ្លាស់ប្ដូរទីលំនៅទៅរស់នៅទីក្រុងគាត់នាំកូនរបស់គាត់ទៅជាមួយដែរអានេះជាកត្តាធ្វើឲ្យកូនរបស់គាត់បោះបង់ការសិក្សាហើយទៅរកការងារនៅទីក្រុងហើយការងារទាំងអស់នោះជាការងារដែលមិនសមស្របហើយធ្វើឲ្យពួកគាត់ស្ថិតនៅក្នុងពលកម្មកុមារហេតុដែលឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់ពួកយើងបញ្ជូនពួកយើងទៅធ្វើការ ទាំងអស់នោះដោយសារតែជីវភាពគាត់ខាតហើយគាត់គ្មានចំណេះដឹងហើយនាំកូនរបស់គាត់ទៅធ្វើការដែលគាត់មិនដឹងថាកុមារស្ថិតក្នុងវ័យនេះគួរតែធ្វើអ្វីហើយគួរតែទទួលបានអ្វីប៉ុន្តែគាត់យកកុមារដែលស្ថិតក្នុងវ័យដែលមិនទាន់ពេញអាយុនឹងធ្វើការគាត់នាំកូនគាត់ទៅធ្វើការដែលកុមារទាំងអស់នោះគឺស្ថិតក្នុងពលកម្មកុមាររបស់នាងខ្ញុំហើយនឹងកុមារផ្សេងទៀតខ្ញុំគិតថាមិនខុសពីនាងខ្ញុំដែរនៅពេលដែលយើងទៅធ្វើការទាំងអស់នោះគឺធ្វើឲ្យយើងមានភាពថាឯកោមានភាពមិនមានភាពកក់ក្ដៅជាមួយនឹងគ្រួសារអត់មានភាពជិតស្និទ្ធជាមួយនឹងមិត្តភ័ក្តិយើងហើយមានអារម្មណ៍ថាយើងគឺជាមនុស្សដែលឡែកពីកុមារផ្សេងទៀតដែលគេទទួលបានការសិក្សារៀនសូត្រពេញលេញគេទទួលបានការចិញ្ចឹមបីបាច់បានពេញលេញហើយគេទទួលបានអាហារូបត្ថម្ភបានគ្រប់គ្រាន់ទៀតចំពោះយើងវិញពេលដែលយើងធ្វើការអញ្ចឹងទៅធ្វើឲ្យយើងខ្សោយសុខភាពរាងកាយរបស់យើងមានភាពទ្រុឌទ្រោមហើយធ្វើឲ្យយើងមានបញ្ហាផ្លូវចិត្តរបស់យើងគឺយើងអត់មានសប្បាយចិត្តហើយធ្វើឲ្យយើងស្ងាត់ស្ងៀមហើយគិតតែពីធ្វើការដើម្បីធ្វើឲ្យពុកម្ដាយយើងក៏សប្បាយចិត្តទាំងនេះគឺជាអារម្មណ៍របស់អ្នកខ្ញុំហើយដើម្បីឲ្យកុមារគាត់report ពីពលកម្មកុមារវិបាកគាត់គួរតែមានច្បាប់តឹងរឹងទាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងសហគ្រាសក្រុមហ៊ុនផ្សេងៗឲ្យមានលក្ខខណ្ឌច្បាស់លាស់ក្នុងការទទួលយកអ្នកដែលចូលធ្វើការដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់ចូលរួមលុបបំបាត់និងកាត់បន្ថយពលកម្មកុមារហើយទីពីរនោះគឺអ្នកដែលពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយចំនួនគួរតែចូលរួមផ្សព្វផ្សាយទាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងពលកម្មកុមារឲ្យបានទូលំទូលាយហើយជំចោះស្រាវជ្រាវទាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងកុមារដែលស្ថិតនៅតំបន់ដាច់ស្រយាលមួយចំនួនដែលប្រកបមិនទទួលបានការសិក្សាហើយបញ្យល់និងបង្កើតវគ្គបណ្ដុះបណ្ដាលទាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងពលកម្មកុមារឲ្យមនុស្សទូទាំងពិភពលោកគេបានដឹងហើយនឹងចូលរួមកាត់បន្ថយនៅពលកម្មកុមារទាំងអស់ចំណេះដឹងពិតជាមានសារៈសំខាន់ខ្លាំងណាស់សម្រាប់នាងខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់ក៏ដូចជានៅពេលដែលនាងខ្ញុំមានចំណេះដឹងនៅក្នុងខ្លួនធ្វើឲ្យនាងខ្ញុំចុះនៅក្នុងចំណោមគេធ្វើឲ្យនាងខ្ញុំមានការគិតបែបវិជ្ជមានហើយធ្វើអ្វីដែលប្រាសតិវិធីហើយដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាបាននៅតាមកលៈទេសៈហើយនៅពេលដែលយើងមានចំណេះដឹងគឺធ្វើឲ្យយើងអាចស្ដារនៅសេដ្ឋកិច្ចគ្រួសារយើងបានហើយនៅពេលដែលយើងមានចំណេះដឹងគឺធ្វើឲ្យយើងធ្វើអ្វីដែលមានភាពច្បាស់លាស់មានគោលដៅច្បាស់លាស់ហើយការយើងនឹងរកការងារដែលមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពហើយការងារទាំងអស់នោះគឺជាសង្គមរបស់យើងហើយការងារដែលវាមិនបានប្រើកម្លាំងបែបក៏ដូចជាយើងមិនស្ថិតនៅក្នុងពលកម្មកុមារផងដែរខ្ញុំចង់ចែករំលែកនៅថ្ងៃនេះក៏ដូចជាបទពិសោធន៍នៃខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់ហើយនឹងអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំបានជួបកន្លងមកពេលដែលយើងស្ថិតនៅក្នុងពលកម្មកុមារយើងព្យាយាមរកបម្រើគ្រប់ពេលវេលាប៉ុន្តែបើសិនជាអត់មានអ្នកអូសទាញយើងចេញពីកន្លែងនេះគឺយើងមិនអាចចាក់ចេញដោយខ្លួនឯងបានទេហើយយើងក៏ដឹងបានថាមួយចំនួនកន្លងមកក៏មានអ្នកមួយចំនួនគាត់ព្យាយាមជួយយើងចេញពីកន្លែងទាំងអស់នេះហើយខ្ញុំគិតថាគាត់គួរតែបន្តសកម្មភាពនេះហើយសកម្មភាពទាំងអស់នេះគួរតែមានភាពទូលំទូលាយជាងមុនដើម្បីឲ្យកុមារដែលគាត់មិនទាន់ទទួលបាននៅឱកាសនេះដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់បានចាក់ចែងពីពលកម្មកុមារផងដែរហើយអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំជួបកន្លងមកគឺកុមារគាត់មិនអាចធ្វើអ្វីតាមតែចិត្តគាត់បានទេគឺគាត់មានការគ្រប់គ្រងពីឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់ឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់ឲ្យគាត់ទៅធ្វើអ្វីគឺគាត់ទៅធ្វើតាមឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់គាត់មិនអាចចង់ធ្វើអ្វីដែលគាត់ចង់បានគាត់មិនអាចទៅបន្តការសិក្សាអ្វីដែលគាត់ត្រូវការគឺគាត់មិនអាចទៅយកបានទេគឺគាត់ត្រូវទៅធ្វើតាមឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់ពេលខ្លះកុមាររហូតដល់គាត់ខ្លាចជាជំនឿដែលញៀននៅក្នុងការធ្វើការគាត់មិនចង់បានទទួលបានការរៀនសូត្រមិនចង់ទទួលបានការអប់រំម្ដងម្ដាលពីលោកគ្រូអ្នកគ្រូទៀតផង
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful video. We got to hear from Mundi. Hi, Mundi.
Hi, teacher.
Sok sabai.
Sok sabai.
So in watching that video, we heard quite a few things from Mundi. Mundi, I'm going to speak slowly in English. If you don't understand something, we can get translators. But we heard quite a few things from you. And one of the things was regarding, the fact that you need help when children want to get out of child labor. But first of all, I want to just ask you, Mundi, you are wearing a very beautiful top. This is from your ethnic tribe. You are from the Jarai tribe, right, of Cambodia.
Yes,
is that right?
It's close. Yeah.
And the Jarai tribe is one of the indigenous tribes of Cambodia, right? People don't often know about the Jarai people. So very, very, very happy to have you. So Mundi, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is about what you said about young people and when they want to work. And sometimes young people, you said, they like working because they enjoy working, and they can also earn money for food and also for clothes and to support themselves. So I want to ask you, how do you think young people that are under 18, how do you think young people should be allowed to work? What type of work should younger people be allowed to do? And what should be some of the guidance around that? Could you say a few words?
Yes, I will say in Khmer.
Please.
ដោយសារតែអ្នកគ្រូគាត់បានសួរនេះខ្ញុំតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹងការធ្វើបទបង្ហាញក៏ដូចជាការលើកឡើងរបស់នេះខ្ញុំហើយក្នុងនោះខ្ញុំបានលើកឡើងពីទម្រង់កុមារដែលគាត់ចូលចិត្តនៅក្នុងការធ្វើការព្រោះអីគាត់មានលុយគាត់សម្រាប់ទៅទិញសម្លៀកបំពាក់សម្រាប់ខ្លួនឯងក៏ដូចជាទិញអាហារសម្រាប់ហូបចុកហើយគាត់មានសម្លៀកបំពាក់ល្អជាងមុនហើយក្នុងនោះផងដែរការដែលគាត់ធ្វើការគឺគាត់ចង់ជួយសម្រួលដល់ការងាររបស់ពុកម្ដាយគាត់ហើយព្រោះតែពុកម្ដាយគាត់ខ្វះខាតសូម្បីតែធ្វើឲ្យគាត់ទទួលបានការសិក្សាក៏អត់មានផងអញ្ចឹងទៅគាត់សុខចិត្តទៅធ្វើការជាមួយពុកម្ដាយគាត់ហើយរួមចំណែកគ្រប់គ្រងជីវភាពគ្រួសារក៏ដូចជាឧទាហរណ៍ថាគាត់ជាកូនច្បងគាត់សុខចិត្តធ្វើការដើម្បីឲ្យប្អូនគាត់បានទៅរៀននេះជាភាពលះបង់របស់គាត់ហើយដូច្នេះហើយបានជាគាត់ដោយសារតែគាត់ធ្លាប់ធ្វើការតាំងពីក្មេងអញ្ចឹងទៅគាត់ញៀនក្នុងការធ្វើការអញ្ចឹង
Oh, Kuncharan Muni. Kimyu, you can help us with the translation?
Yeah, sure. Monet mentioned that the many kinds of work that children should do, which is the household chores and not the work that required a lot of strength. And also, she said children should do those work when they are free from school, when they're not going to school. They should not skip school to do all those work. And the kind of work that she thinks children should not do is the work that required labor or strength, such as in the factories or the construction workers. Yes, that is it for my answer.
Thank you, Kimyu. So that's really interesting. So basically, as long as the work does not interfere with school, and as long as the work is not too strenuous. But sometimes, Muni, some children like 16, 17, they are not at school. Can they work full-time, according to you? Because they have finished their education maybe at 15 or 16. So if they have finished their education at 15 or 16, should they be allowed to work in a factory, for example? Just short answer, very short answer.
Yes. ចំពោះនាងខ្ញុំគិតថាយើងអាចអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យធ្វើប៉ុន្តែសម្រាប់ការងារនោះគឺជាលក្ខណៈការងារអត់ធ្ងន់ដូចថាគាត់បានបញ្ចប់ការសិក្សារបស់គាត់ហើយគាត់អាចបន្តធ្វើការដែលប្រើចំណេះដឹងឬក៏នៅក្នុងកម្រិតនៃអាយុរបស់គាត់ដែលទទួលបានការងារហ្នឹងគឺមិនមែនការងារដែលមានការគៀបសង្កត់ពីអ្នកធំឬក៏ការងារដែលធ្វើឲ្យគាត់ប៉ះពាល់ដល់ស្មារតីដូចជាសតិអារម្មណ៍របស់គាត់ចា៎
Okuncharan Muni. Now we will go to the next video, but we will come back and speak later. Thank you.
So next up we have Bagavi, and Bagavi is a 16-year-old young woman from Telangana in India. She would like to become a teacher in the future and teach children like her have come from her situation. In her free time, she likes to play with her friends and have fun. And Bagavi has an elder sister who is currently working. So in India, there are a tremendous amount of children involved in child labour, and this is Bagavi's reflections.
కస్తూరిబా గాంధీ బాలికల విద్యాలయము కిస్మత్పూర్లో 10th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్నాను.
భార్గవి, 16 కోట్ల మంది పిల్లలు ఈ ప్రపంచంలో బాల కార్మికులుగా ఉన్నారు. నీకేమనిపిస్తుంది విని?
16 కోట్ల మంది పిల్లలు ఇంకా చదువుకోకుండా బాల కార్మికులుగా ఉన్నందుకు నాకు చాలా బాధగా ఉంది. వాళ్ళల్లో నేను లేనందుకు నాకు సంతోషంగా ఉంది. వాళ్ళకి నేను ఏం సహాయం చేయలేకపోతున్నాననే బాధ కూడా ఉంది. ఇంకా చాలా విషయాలలో మన ప్రపంచం మొత్తం చాలా అభివృద్ధిని చెంది ఉంది. ఈ విషయంలో మాత్రం ఎందుకు ఇంత వెనుకబడిపోయి ఉందా అనే ఆలోచన నాలో వస్తుంది. చాలా మంది పిల్లలకి పనికి పంపించి సమాజం చాలా అన్యాయం చేస్తుంది అనిపిస్తుంది.
అసలు పిల్లలు పనికి ఎందుకు వెళ్తున్నారు? వాళ్ళ పెద్దలు కూడా వాళ్ళని పనికి ఎందుకు పంపిస్తున్నారు అనుకుంటున్నావు?
పిల్లలు ఇంట్లో పరిస్థితులు బాగాలేక డబ్బులు వస్తాయని చెప్పి బయట పనులకు వెళ్లాల్సి వస్తుంది. యజమానులు కూడా పిల్లలైతే చాలా సమయం వరకు పని చేస్తారు, తక్కువ వేతనం తీసుకుంటారు, ఇంకా ఏదైనా కానీ ఎదురు తిరగరు అనేసి చెప్పి యజమానులు కూడా పిల్లలను పనిలో చేర్చుకుంటున్నారు చాలా మంది. నేను కూడా ఒకప్పుడు బట్టల షాప్ లో పని చేశాను. అప్పుడు చాలా మంది ని చూసి నేను స్కూల్ కి వెళ్ళట్లే అనే బాధ నాలో ఉండేది.
భార్గవి, పిల్లలు పనికి వెళ్ళడం పట్ల నీకేమనిపిస్తుంది?
చాలా మంది పిల్లలు పనికి వెళ్తున్నందుకు నాకు బాధగా అనిపిస్తుంది. వాళ్ళకి నేను ఏం చేయలేకపోతున్నాను అనే చెప్పి కూడా బాధగా అనిపిస్తుంది. పిల్లలు వాళ్ళ బాల్యాన్ని కోల్పోయి పని చేస్తూ ఇప్పటి నుంచే కష్టపడుతున్నందుకు నాకు చాలా బాధగా ఉంది. ఈ సమాజం వాళ్ళని చదివించకుండా పని చేయించి వాళ్ళకి చాలా అన్యాయం చేస్తుంది అనిపిస్తుంది.
చదువు అనేది ఎంత ఇంపార్టెంట్ అనుకుంటున్నావు?
చదువు అనేది మనకు చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. మా అమ్మ నాన్నలు వాళ్ళ అమ్మ నాన్నలు ఎవరు ఇంట్లో చదువుకోలేరు. మా ఇంట్లో నేను మొదటి అమ్మాయిని చదువుకుంటున్నందుకు నాకు చాలా గర్వంగా ఉంది. మన పేదరికాన్ని పోగొట్టడానికి మనకి చదువే సరైన మార్గం. చదువుకుంటేనే మన సమాజంలో మనకి మంచి పేరు ఉంటుంది. మనం ఏం చేయాలనుకున్నా అని చదివే మనకి మొదటి మెట్టు. మనం చేయాలనుకుంది చేయడానికి చదివే మనకి చాలా అవసరం.
భార్గవి, నీ అనుభవాల నుంచి ఏమైనా చెప్పాలనుకుంటున్నావా?
నేను మా ఇంట్లో పరిస్థితుల వల్ల నేను 13 ఏళ్ళు ఉన్నప్పుడు బట్టల దుకాణంలో పనిచేయడానికి వెళ్ళాను. నా తోటి స్నేహితులందరూ చదువుకుంటున్నారు, నేను చదువుకోలేకపోయానని చాలా బాధగా అనిపించింది. నాకు 1 year గ్యాప్ రావడం వల్ల నన్ను మళ్ళీ ఎవరు స్కూల్లో చేర్పించుకోలేకపోయారు. కానీ బాల కార్మిక రహిత సమాజాన్ని ఏర్పాటు చేసిన MVF క్యాంపు కార్యకర్తలు మా నాన్నను ఒప్పించి నన్ను బ్రిడ్జ్ కోర్ట్స్ క్యాంపుకి తీసుకొచ్చి నేను 1 year కోల్పోయిన చదువుని ఇక్కడ మళ్ళీ రికవర్ చేసి KGBV కిస్మత్పూర్ లో నన్ను జాయిన్ చేశారు. ఇప్పుడు నేను 10th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్నాను. పెద్ద అయ్యాక నేను కూడా ఒక టీచర్ అయ్యి బాల కార్మికులందరికీ చదువు చెప్పి బాల కార్మికులను విముక్తి చేస్తాను.
Hi there, Bhargavi. Wonderful to have you here. It was really, really interesting, and thank you for your video. We heard, about your experiences and your thoughts, and we heard about how you also worked when you were 13, and how important it was that an organization came and were able to intervene in order to help convince you and your family, to go back to school. And I also, I'm really touched by thinking about how hard you had to work to come back to school, because it wasn't easy to come back to school after missing 1 year. And, one of the things I'm thinking about is that, you told me before as well that you are the first girl in your family to go to school. Your parents did not go to school. Your grandparents did not go to school. Is that right? And you are the first girl. You're on mute. Oh, yes. You are the first girl to go to school in your family. You must be very proud. Your family must be very proud.
Yes, madam.
So, Bhargavi, I want to ask you one question.
Okay, ma'am.
You said that, what do you think about parents when they have been to school or when they have not been to school? Do you think there is a difference in how they value the education of their children? So some parents, if they have not been to school, do they have more value or less value for the education of their children? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you for this question. Ma'am, I will tell in Telugu. నా అభిప్రాయ ప్రకారం చాలా మంది పేరెంట్స్ వాళ్ళు చదువుకోలేనందుకు వాళ్ళ పిల్లలైనా కష్టపడకూడదు, వాళ్ళు ఎట్లా చదువుకోకుండా కష్టాలు పడుతూ పెరిగిండ్రు, ఇప్పటికీ కష్టాలు పడుతూనే ఉన్నారు. కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు చదువుకోకపోయినా పిల్లలు చదువుకొని వాళ్ళలాగా కష్టపడకుండా మంచి చదువుకొని ఒక స్టేజ్కి వచ్చి మంచి జాబ్ చేయాలని అనుకుంటారు. మా పేరెంట్స్ కూడా నన్ను చదివించాలని చాలా అనుకున్నారు, కానీ కొన్ని సిచ్యువేషన్స్ వల్ల నేను పనికి వెళ్ళాల్సి వచ్చింది. ఇంకా 11 lakhs మెంబర్స్ టీచర్స్ లేరు. స్కూల్కి ఒక్కటే టీచర్ ఉండడం వల్ల పేరెంట్స్ పిల్లల్ని స్కూల్కి పంపించలేకపోతున్నారు. సెకండ్ పాయింట్ ఏంటి, పిల్లలు స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళి చదువుకోవాలి అని చెప్పి స్ట్రిక్ట్ రూల్ లేకపోవడం వల్ల పిల్లల్ని స్కూల్కి పంపించడం లేదు, పనికి పంపిస్తున్నారు పేరెంట్స్. చదువుకొని పేరెంట్స్ కొంతమంది పంపించాలనుకుంటున్నారు పిల్లల్ని, కానీ స్కూల్లో సరిగ్గా ఫెసిలిటీస్ లేకపోవడం వల్ల, ఇంకా టీచర్స్ లేకపోవడం వల్ల గవర్నమెంట్ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ తీసుకొని అన్ని ఫెసిలిటీస్ ఉండి టీచర్స్ ఉండి మంచి స్టడీ చెప్పే విధంగా ఉండాలని నేను కోరుకుంటున్నాను. ఇంకా థ్యాంక్ యూ మ్యామ్.
Thank you, Bhargavi. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Bhargavi. So what you're saying is that, you know, generally parents value the education of their children more when they have not had that opportunity themselves. But those parents, they really need better trust and connection with adequate teachers at school. In order to be able to send their children to school, they want to know that they can trust the teacher and that they can trust the school to take care of their children. So this is very insightful. And also the fact that it should be normal for children to go to school and not normal for children to go to work when they should be at school. You know, thank you so much, Bhargavi. We'll come back again after we've watched the rest of the videos, but that's a really wonderful answer. Thank you so much for your insights.
And we now go all the way to Australia. And the situation in Australia is very, very different than it is in Cambodia and in many places in India and many places in Ghana. And Ruby is going to share her reflections from what it's like to be a young person looking at child labour happening around the world. Ruby is 13 years old. She lives with her parents and older sister who is 17 in Newcastle in New South Wales. And she's a member of the Doves Student Voice Council, which is a student council that works with the New South Wales Minister of Education. And so this means that Ruby is a consultant already to the Minister of Education. And here was her reflections on looking at child labour.
Ruby English. I am 13, attending regular high school, year 7, Newcastle, SW. Yeah, so I was in Sydney earlier this year, staying at my grandparents', before the outbreak. And my mum was talking to me, telling me that Fuzz and Carolyn were coming over for lunch. And she was reminding me who they were, saying, these are the people who work in eradicating modern slavery. And I remember saying, Mum, there are no such thing as slavery anymore. That was stopped like ages ago. Because that's what I had thought. It's what I had been taught. I'd grown up thinking that there were no slavery-like practices in the world anymore. Fuzz and Carolyn came over and told me just how wrong I was. And when I started researching this, it really hit me how big a problem it is. Did you know that almost 10% of children are in child labour? I didn't. I was never taught this. That's because we don't think it's a problem because it's not taught it is. For example, there's a lot of climate change, global warming activism among youth because many of us are taught that's a problem. But we're not taught about what's happening to millions of children all over the world. Here's my question. Why? I'll come back to that later. I just want to talk about something that many of us don't necessarily think of when we think of child labour. You know, the truth is there are a lot of connections to child labour, even in places like Australia that have very low levels, like supply chains. Supply chains are the chain of factories and resources that lead to a product's manufacturing. And a lot of supply chains have child labour at one or more steps. Something that even the company in question might not necessarily be aware to. The tricky thing about supply chains is that companies don't advertise them. They don't say, hey, this product, it was made with forced labor. You know, they may advertise them if they have a clean, transparent supply chain, but otherwise, how are you supposed to know if that shirt was made with forced or child labor? Some companies don't even know where their own supply chain leads. You know, of course, many are not like that. Many are made ethically and have transparent supply chains, and these are the ones that you should look for and support. If a company doesn't know what the supply chain is ethical, ask. You can ask a store worker, go on their website to see if there's more info, even email them. It might come to nothing, but then it might not. It might help someone. You know, it is a small act, but it can make a big change. Anybody can do this, but many don't think to. It's sort of like activism. And the youth population is pretty incredible when it comes to activism. There are so many examples of us raising our voices and enacting change. Yet many don't even know what the word supply chain transparency means. What if we could teach them? I mean, imagine if child labour and modern slavery was added to the curriculum. It would be an opportunity to show these kids what is happening to the millions of others just all over the world. But what could we teach these kids that would resonate with them and keep their attention? There's not much point in teaching them something that's not engaging. It's just going to go in one ear and out the other. But how old should they be taught about this? I mean, it's all very well to say we need to teach them, but what do we need to teach them about? What will they listen to? If a lesson is not engaging, kids are just going to do the work, wait for it to be over. But how do we make it engaging? When I look back at my years at school, the only lessons I really remember are the ones where I had fun and was interested. I don't remember the lectures, the PowerPoints, the speeches. I remember the researching in groups, the creating posters and videos to encourage change, the debating battles over issues and proposed solutions. Lessons are so much more interesting if you're finding things out for yourselves rather than just listening to a teacher telling you what a big problem it is. Instead of telling them, we could let them research, create videos about things we can do, debate the merits about different strategies, because they'll remember those lessons. For example, last year I was in year 6 and 2 of my friends and I did send a proposal to our principal. For once a week, we went down to the kindergarten classrooms and we taught them little lessons about things like respect, kindness, and empathy. We knew what would work and what was engaging because we were only a few years older than them. You know, it did work. We would do little skits about being honest. We would do little murals about being kind. And because we were only that little bit older than them, we knew what would actually stick in their mind. If we want to know what the kids will enjoy, maybe we should ask them, get their input, see what they learn the most from. And setting the curriculum aside, what are some other ways we could reach out to youth and teach them? Social media, physical posters, forums, speakers at school? Does anyone have any other ideas? If there is a chat, you can put them in there or just think about it. How can we talk to the youth population and what would they listen to? What would make them think? We should show them the things that they can do. As an idea, Inquire with the company whether they know where their own supply chain leads. Donate time, money, or other supplies to a charity working on this. Ask a friend or family member if they've ever heard of child labor. You know, this might seem like pretty small steps, not amounting to much, but every little thing counts. Never be afraid about what might not happen if you do something. Be excited about what might. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ruby. Hi there.
Hi.
So yeah, that was a wonderful presentation we heard from you. Loved the PowerPoint slides you put together. And I really, really enjoyed listening to how you were giving so many ideas and sharing so many ideas about how young people are should be informed and how young people can better speak to other young people because you can speak the same language. And, you know, one of the things that really struck me from your presentation, Ruby, was, you know, when you said that you didn't believe that, you know, modern day slavery existed and that you're not taught this at school, and how, you know, shocked you were that you're going to school and yet there's 10% of the world's child population that is working in a way that you didn't even imagine. So I know that you asked the question to us, why is this, you know, why is this the case? But I wanted to know your thoughts. Why do you think that, you know, children in Australia and other countries like Australia, why do you think they're not taught about child labor in other countries? And what do you think, you know, what do you think would happen if child labor was in your curriculum?
I think that one of the reasons we might not be taught about it is people might not necessarily think it's as big a problem because it's not directly affecting the local area as much. Like subconsciously, we might look at the statistics for our area and see low statistics and think, oh, it must not be a big problem then, and not bother to look at the more worldwide statistics that say like 9-point-something% of children worldwide are working where they shouldn't be. And I feel like because it's not as directly affecting us, we then sort of write it off more, not intentionally selfishly, but just thinking that if it's not affecting my patch of the world, it must not be a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be why we're taught about it. But I think if it was put in the curriculum for more people to be taught about it, I think there would be a definite rise in youth activism around this. Because, for example, the different problems we're already taught in school that affect our world and that we're going to grow up to, and other children in the world have already got a lot of youth activism around it, trying to help fix these problems and encourage change. So I definitely think that would arise more, and we would get more change if we were taught the children more.
That's so insightful. You know, it's so true. We often just care about our little patch in the world, like you said, Ruby. And, you know, the rise in youth activism would, I mean, just to imagine the power of youth activism all working together, you know, very soon we're going to be hearing from Benjamin in West Africa. And we know about the child labor problem, for example, in West Africa, and how we've been looking at it for the last 20 years. And I wonder, you know, what difference it would have made if we had that youth activism over the last 20 years, and what the future would look like if we can empower young people right now to work together. So looking forward to you working together with the other young people, Ruby. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to the next video now. Thank you.
So we're now going to Ghana and to Benjamin. And Ghana is a fascinating place. We do a lot of work in Ghana, and Artie, I know you've done a lot of work in Ghana as well. And one of the key things is to realize that in the cocoa industry and in the mining industry, children are being used Some are being trafficked within Ghana, some are being trafficked in from outside of Ghana, just a little bit there. But the other big thing is to realize that in Ghana, there is a whole lot of child labor is going on. So Benjamin's going to share his perspective now. Benjamin's 14. He's got two siblings, Nora 6 and William 3. And his interests are dancing and also, and I love this, having conversations on child protection. Benjamin, you're my sort of man. So let's have a look now and see what Benjamin has to say in his reflections.
My name is Fosu Benjamin. I am 14 years of age. The 160 million children across the world are working beyond their age and strength. This is also bad because I'll drop out of school because the time to be in school is the time to sell at the street. And also the time to play with my friends is the time to work in order to get money. So as a child, I think it is bad that 160 million children are working beyond their age and strength. And also, I think that we must do something to abolish child labor so that my community and children worldwide will be burden-free. If you don't have what you will eat, my parents will involve me to go and work in order to get money and care for the family. And this is bad. So I think parents involve the children to work in order to get money and care for the family. To me, education is very important because we have doctors, lawyers, presidents, member of parliament because of education. So to me, education is very important. I have 3 of my friends who has dropped out of school because of child labor. Their parents don't have enough to cater for themselves. So my friends have indulged themselves in illegal mining. With this, they have lacked education. So I'm hoping one day they'll come back to school and all of us will be educated so that we'll be responsible in future.
Thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. I think maybe he has been cut off from the internet. But you know, one of the things that we have noticed from Benjamin's video is how he talks about the importance of play for children as well as education. He talks about when it's time to be selling on the street, that's also the time that children would be spending, you know, with their friends, as well as going to school. And sometimes we often forget about children's right to play. And we also heard from, you know, about how he has friends in his class or were in his class that have since dropped out of school in order to go and work in illegal mining. And we also heard from Bhargavi about when she was working and how she would see her friends going to school and how, you know, she wouldn't be able to join them. And when we heard from Mundi, it's all connecting together. When we heard from Mundi, you know, Mundi was talking about how, you know, children, when they don't go to school or they're working, they actually become quite isolated from other children, you know, other children that they would be going to school with or that they would be playing with otherwise. So those were one of the reflections I was having when I heard Mundi and Bhargavi and also Benjamin. So yeah, that was one of the reflections I had, you know, about how, you know, the children that are going to work and don't go to school not only miss out on education, but they're missing out on playing and also, you know, interacting with other children. So that isolation came out in quite a few of the presentations.
Yeah. And I think it was also interesting how each one of the children reflected that they were surprised. that Mundi and Bagavi knew that that it was happening in their communities, but they didn't know that it was happening worldwide. Ruby didn't know that it was happening, and we've had a thing on the chat. So hi to Tony and Lavinia. So Lavinia is 12 and she's really enjoying watching these presentations. And she thinks that young people don't know about modern slavery, maybe because adults want to protect them from the truth. But she thinks that they should know, and they should be told with sensitivity and their level of maturity in mind. So she says, if I was in a child labour situation, I would want other children to know of my situation and to have hope that things can change.
And I think that's a really important one too, isn't it, Artie? That it's about knowing, it's about seeing. And when you don't know it's there, it's really hard to comment on it. It's really hard to do something about it. And I mean, this webinar tonight has taken the form that it has because of Ruby, in that meal that we had at her grandparents together, where she said, well, her mother has said, you know, this is what Fuzz and Carolyn do. They try and stop slavery. And she goes, but I thought there wasn't any slavery. But she got so excited. We talked over the whole meal about this, and we're working on this. And so we're working with a group in America that's developed curriculum for schools on it. We're developing curriculum for schools in Australia. We're just about to launch raising the money to be able to do this. But I think that it's not just the schools in Australia and America and UK and Europe. It's also the schools in Cambodia and the schools in India and the schools in West Africa also being able to understand what happens, because as Benjamin was saying, and as both Bagavi was saying and Mundi was saying, a lot of times it's not seen as this is not supposed to happen. So I guess there's that awareness, and then what can you do about it? And what can you do about the root causes, which we looked at in the second session, that's actually making it difficult for children to go to school and to know about what's happening and how to help their friends.
Yes, it's about social norms, even in countries like India and Cambodia and other Asian and African countries where we're seeing a preponderance, you know, of children going to work. Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have that much. I don't know if we can go over time because I have some questions I'd like to ask the young people. But one of the things I was really hit by with what Mundi was saying and what Benjamin was saying about how many children are working beyond their age and their strength. And, you know, he says that twice, and it's almost like, you know, children working beyond their age and their strength. And it reminds me of, you know, what Mundi was saying about how, you know, when she was working, you know, it was also about how do you negotiate for how much you get paid. You know, and we also heard from Bhargavi, you know, talking about, you know, how she wasn't able to speak. And Mundi was saying how children get silenced, and that going to school actually gives them problem-solving skills, which they can use to negotiate better work for themselves when they're, you know, when they're a little bit older. So I thought that was a really interesting insight, you know, from the young people about how they feel that they are disempowered when they're working with adults, you know, and they're having to negotiate the work that they're doing, the tasks that they're doing, the pay that they're getting, and the other conditions in which they're working.
Very true. Well, shall we go to bring on the other speakers and have a chance to do some talk and to work through how they see this and what they think is important, and maybe there's questions they want to ask each other as well.
So while they're coming on, I mean, it would be great to ask Benjamin that question. You know, you talked about your friends and how they've dropped out of school. And, you know, I was wondering, you know, what could you do? What are the challenges that children would face coming back to school after they miss school because they've been working. What are the kind of challenges they face? What do they need in order to get back to school? And of course, afterwards, we can ask the other young people what they think about that too. But please, Benjamin.
Okay. On how the children could be brought back to school. There is a need to first sensitize parents on the effects of child labor. Through the sensitization, parents will be made to know that child labor can affect the child physically, socially, emotionally, and mentally. So all this affects the child and the child normal growth. And also, through the sensitization, parents will also be educated on the importance of education. This will make parents see the need to send their children to school and keep them in school. And as a child advocate and peer educator, there is the need to also meet and sensitize children on the effects of child labor and importance of education, that we have presidents, doctors, and so many responsible people because of education. So they have to agree with their parents and come back to school. Yeah. And also we have to tell them that the school is always ready to receive them. Okay, so this is the need to make children come back to school.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Benjamin. You are also talking about what we were just talking about how young people want to know the truth, you know, and how young people want to be educated and sensitized about child labor too. So yeah, thank you. How, you know, Bhargavi, Mundi, how would it have made a difference to you if you knew about child labor before? Would it have made a difference to you?
Excuse me, teacher, I need to translate. ចាបងអរគុណច្រើនបើសិនជានៅពេលដែលខ្ញុំនៅក្នុងវ័យ15-16ឆ្នាំដែលខ្ញុំកំពុងតែស្ថិតនៅក្នុងពលកម្មកុមារបើសិនជាខ្ញុំបានដឹងហើយជាខ្ញុំអត់ធ្វើទេហើយខ្ញុំនឹងបើថាប្រឆាំងមួយពុកម្ដាយតែសួរគាត់នាំគាត់ថាហេតុអីបានដោយសារតែពុកម្ដាយគាត់ខ្វះចំណេះដឹងចឹងទៅខ្ញុំដូចថានៅតែពិបាកដដែលណាប៉ុន្តែគ្រាន់តែវាអាចភាសាជាងនេះបន្តិចហ្នឹងបងបើថាយើងដឹងមុនចឹងយើងដឹងថាអានឹងជាអីចឹងយើងអាច
Bhargavi, what do you think?
తెలియదు కాబట్టి నేను పనికి వెళ్ళినాను పనికి వెళ్తే అంతగానం కష్టంగా ఉంటుందని తెలియక నేను వెళ్ళినాను ఇంత స్ట్రిక్ట్ గా పనికి వెళ్ళొద్దు బడికే వెళ్ళాలని తెలుసుంటే మా పేరెంట్స్ కూడా నన్ను పంపించకపోయేటోళ్ళు నేను నా 1 year స్టడీని మిస్ అవ్వకుండా కంటిన్యూ చేసేదాన్ని.
Great. Ruby, I'm wondering if there's any questions you would like to ask the other three.
With something Bhargavi said in her video about how society is progressing in so many ways, but child labor seems to almost be going backwards. Do you think that makes it even harder for you to get out of child labor if the society is going forward and just leaving that sort of area behind?
Yes. She feels that, you know, it is really hard. It's really sad to know that the world is progressing, but still child laborers are left behind. If they focus more on child laborers and not being sent children to work, it would be better. It's very sad to know that world is progressing, but still there is no progress in not finding children at work.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. That's really helpful. Benjamin, you're a child advocate. Are there questions that you would like to ask any of the other three?
Yes, please. I want to ask Mundi that it is now that she has known what child labor is. So what can she do to help eradicate child labor?
ចាអរគុណច្រើនបងនៅពេលដែលខ្ញុំបានដឹងតើតងជាមួយនឹងពលកម្មកុមារហើយខ្ញុំចង់ស្នើសុំទៅរដ្ឋាភិបាលឲ្យគាត់យកចិត្តទុកដាក់ជាងមុនព្រោះអីតាំងពីខ្ញុំអត់ទាន់ដឹងមករហូតដល់ខ្ញុំដឹងមានអារម្មណ៍ថាភាពរីកចម្រើននៃភាពកាត់បន្ថយនៅពលកម្មកុមារគឺមានតិចតួចអញ្ចឹងទៅខ្ញុំចង់គាត់ទៅពង្រឹងនៅតាមសហគ្រាសក៏ដូចជារោងចក្រ ធំធំទៅដល់វិនិយោគឲ្យប្រកបមានលក្ខខណ្ឌច្បាស់លាស់ក្នុងការទទួលនៅកុមារដែលធ្វើការពួកអីខ្ញុំធ្លាប់តែធ្វើការក្នុងចំណោមនោះពួកគាត់ចេះតែរើសឲ្យជួលកុមារពួកអីគាត់ឲ្យលុយតិចអញ្ចឹងទៅកុមារអត់តែចង់អត់តែគេឲ្យលុយគឺយើងចង់តែធ្វើហើយទី2នោះគឺចង់ឲ្យឪពុកម្ដាយគាត់បើកចិត្តឲ្យទូលំទូលាយហើយកុំឲ្យគាត់ស្ថិតនៅបែបថាប្រកាន់នៅវប្បធម៌ដែលចាស់កំរិល
That's fantastic.
Bhargavi has a question of Benjamin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bhargavi. Yes, please. Can you ask
Please
Benjamin?
ask your question.
మీ కంట్రీస్ లో పిల్లలు ఎట్లాంటి వర్క్ చేస్తారు వాళ్ళని చదివించడానికి ఎట్లాంటి హెల్ప్ పిల్లలకి అందుతుంది అక్కడ
Okay. The work that children in my country are insisting to do is illegal mining. They go to work at the illegal mining and in order to earn money and take care of their family. So the work that children in my country are insisting to do is illegal mining. And please, what's the next question?
Can I do a question to you, Benjamin, also? Because I know that you're involved with the Youth Parliament, and I know World Vision is helping with that. Can you share with us about how important that has been for you to learn how to communicate and to talk about issues like child labour?
Child Parliament has helped me to gather courage and also has helped me to know my rights as a child, that I have the right to speak and I have the right to fight against any violence against me as a child.
And now Mundi has a question for Ruby. We're really on a roll here. So Mundi, please.
That's how in English, but my English is not well. Hi Ruby, I want to ask you some question. I think I want to ask you if you were in labor children, how would you do? Because I need some experience to share with my children in my community. Yes, thank you.
I don't really understand what you mean by that.
I think
So
she's what would it be like for you if you were in child labour? Is that right, Mundi? Is that the right question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what it would be like in I've never really thought about it that way before, what it would be like if I was in child labour in my country, because I don't really know what to say. I don't really have an answer to that, but it's a really good thing to think on. If it's a really good question to ask yourself if you're not in a country where that is as big, is to ask what it would be like if I was in that, to show you what it is like for people.
And Ruby, can I ask you a further question? Because you are on the advisory group to the government minister for education, how can you use your position and your situation from what you now know to influence raising the awareness of child labour?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and raise that issue with the Doves Council. So it's more like students from around NSW, and we discuss the problems that we bring to the council, and then we can work together to try and bring action from that, to work with the education minister and further. So that is definitely an issue I will be looking to bring in further meetings to that, and see if we can work on something that we can look at for the education.
And there was just a second question that Bhargavi had asked to Benjamin, and Benjamin had asked for the question again. So that question that Bhargavi asked is that in Ghana, especially in the local community, what is the government doing to help children?
What the government is doing to prevent child labor in my community is they are giving us the opportunity that if you are in child labor, you can contact the DOVSU or the Shraj, and also you can communicate to your elders in the community, and you can tell your guardians
or express yourself that you don't like what they're doing to you. And also, they're giving us the opportunity to tell the police what we are in, what our parents are doing to us. So that's what the government is doing to prevent child labor. They're giving us the opportunity to communicate with them in order to be free.
Thank you. Thank you. I just think it's incredible how these 4 young people are leading, advocates in their communities, working with the government, working with youth networks in their country, and actually raising awareness amongst other children about the right to be able to speak up. As Benjamin said, as Ruby is saying, and what I know what Mundi is doing with her youth network, and also Bhargavi. So these children, these young people are speaking up because they know they have a right to speak up. And I think that's really empowering to experience. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
We've gone slightly over time, but this has been too good to cut short. So, and people have really stayed with it. So that has been so good. Carolyn, Artie, any final words before I finish off and tell about the organisations and the last webinar?
Just to say, we could have kept the questions going, and we're sorry that we're having to cut them off, but please email. That's another way that things can happen. And just to also say, if Bhargavi, Mundi and Benjamin are not looking in the chat, there's actually lots of comments in the chat about how people have appreciated your insight, how well you have spoken, your insight, and the way in which you are being strong for children, and have helped the other people who are on this call to understand this so much deeper, and to give all of the explanations that you have. So thank you very much from everybody who has been listening to you.
Artie, any final words?
Just about how, I just want to say how inspired I feel by the young people on the panel. I love how you are taking up your power, and please carry on. And I hope we meet again sometime. But thank you everyone for joining. It's just been fantastic also to hear everybody's questions to each other. So that was also wonderful. Thank you.
So this has been great. So Mundi and Bhargavi and Ruby and Benjamin, you have been so good, and you have really answered things well. And it's been so good to have you on. For me, it warms an old youth worker's heart to hear young people continually coming up and the new generations taking up these issues and making a difference to them. Let me share a couple of things very quickly about the organisations which have got these young people to this point. And the first one is the MV Foundation. And MV Foundation has a whole lot of approaches, and Anna will send out the contacts for these foundations and for these organizations, so you can get to know more about them, maybe find ways of supporting them, because they're doing such good job and such good work. MV Foundation is doing amazing work in working with the whole community to try and make regions and areas child free, and they now have withdrawn more than 1 million children from those communities that they've been working in. We also have seen that, and CRC is coming together of a number of organisations and 61 child rights focused national and international NGOs to uphold the responsibility and accountability of duty bearers to implement policy commitments. And through this, children in Cambodia increasingly enjoy and exercise their rights with that incredibly important thing of dignity and to realise their full potential. In Ghana, World Vision, who has been working with Benjamin, they've been working on getting quality education, safe water, sanitation, hygiene, and improve the livelihood, health and nutrition of families and young people. And some of their really important work is in this whole area of ending child marriage. And that is a very, very important one when it comes to modern slavery. And so they've empowered 15,699 girls and boys through Kids Club and this Child Parliament activities. And I'm dying to hear more about this Child Parliament activities. And they have them participating in helping to speak out about child labour and other forms of violence against children. And where Benjamin lives, more than 13,764 people and 8,921 children have been empowered with a knowledge of the effects of child labour and have been upskilling them how it perpetuates poverty. And they've also been able to rescue 46 children from labour at illegal mines. Most of those have been, almost all of those, I think, have been boys.
And before you go on, the dude on the right holding the sign with the bow tie is Benjamin in his youth parliament.
So that's him in full flow and full regalia. Well, folks, the last one that we're going to be doing in this series for the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labour is going to be on the 25th of November, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Please calculate that wherever you are at. And it's going to be with Carolyn and Artie and myself. And we're going to be talking through what have we learned and what can we do. And so this is going to be not just wrapping up what's happened, but also share the work that we do in trying to work forward, how we really make a difference in this. So folks, I hope this has been helpful. We have loved doing this and love working with the young people and with those who are supporting them. Thank you to those NGOs. And thank you to the 4 young people as well. So everybody, please use these. Anna will send out the information from about those NGOs, and also this recording will be available. You can go over it, play it yourself with your friends in your companies, in your organizations, and hopefully share the insights that these young people have been giving us tonight. So thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of this session. Good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are, where you are watching this. Hope you have a really good one. And let's make a difference in the world by eliminating child labour as much as we ever can.